Well, thanks for the opportunity to come and talk about it.
Awesome, no problem at
Yeah,
all.
glad to have
Well,
you.
Paul, welcome to Kicking Tables. It's such a pleasure to have you on. Robot Quest Arena is on Kickstarter now, so we're jumping in here a little bit late, but that's okay. Paul, why don't you tell us about the game? What is it all about?
Yeah, so Robot Quest Arena is a 2 to 4 player deck building arena combat game. It kind of takes place in this world that we've created called Rivet. It's basically this giant mega city where everyone that lives there kind of knows a little something about robots. Robots are just kind of a part of everyday life. You know, they're
Yeah.
walking down the street and everybody has their own little pet robot. And then the very best and kind of most famous of people in this world are robot fighters. So they take their robots and they go to the arenas in the various districts of the city, and they fight for fame and glory.
And so how is the game played?
Yeah, so it's a deck building game. So you've got pretty traditional. You start with your 10 card starting deck. You draw a 5 card hand. The cards in your hand it will either give you energy, which you can use to buy cards from the shop and add new weapons and upgrades to your decks or your robot. And then you can also use the energy to move around the board. So there's
Okay.
a big grid board that you're moving your robot around, and then you'll use attack cards to attack your opponents. And every time you deal damage to your opponents, that converts directly into victory points. And then when your robot is destroyed, it gets removed from the board, but there's no permadeath in the game. You basically respawn at the start of your turn, so no one's ever out of the action. And and then basically at the end of the game, whoever has the most victory points wins the game.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of a
yeah.
it's kind of a light, fun deck builder, but the board adds a lot of depth. So kind of more casual players can come in and have fun and just smash each other's robots. But the more kind of hardcore players, I think, are going to find a lot of depth with kind of the movement on the board and such.
Well, that is the unique thing about it being a deck builder, but it's a deck builder where you're using the deck to manipulate a board. Really,
Mhm.
it's not just buy cards and attack your opponent or whatever. It's buy cards to use to manipulate the board in order
Or your
to
opponent's
attack.
robot sometime.
Right, exactly. Well, that's what I mean. To manipulate the pieces on the board, and
Yeah.
that's really cool. That's a really unique concept for a deck builder.
Yeah, I love the look of it. It gives me a real Pokemon vibe.
Yeah.
The look of it, like even your Kickstarter page is like this reminds me of all the opening towns from the Pokemon games. What was your inspiration behind building the game?
Yeah, so it's kind of I'm going to go back a little ways because
Sure.
Perfect Day, Perfect Day is the company I'm with. We're partnered with Wise Wizards to bring this game, and so the Perfect Day team, we've been working together for it's getting close to almost 10 years now. We come from the mobile game world, so we're kind of new to board games, and we all have worked together on this game called Battle Nations back in the day, a pretty popular mobile game back in the day. And then we were eventually acquired by King, the Candy Crush people, and we worked on a game called Paradise Bay together. And then eventually we got by Activision, which was kind of the beginning of the end. And they ended up shutting down our studio when they had that big round of layoffs a couple years ago. And so we kind of had a decision where we all really loved working together. Do we want to go work for the next corporate overlord, or do we want to kind of do our own thing and kind of set out on our own? So we decided to set out on our own, and one of our guys, James McDonald, has been creating this universe for kind of as a pet project for 3 or 4 years. And we looked at all the art, and we kind of just started talking about what we wanted to make. And kind of the inspirations was, like you said, Pokemon was a huge inspiration. Me and James are huge Pokemon fans. Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite game of all time, so we wanted kind of a tactical board element. And then BattleBots was one of my favorite shows ever.
Yeah.
So we kind of just took all these things we loved, and kind of there's a lot of SNES kind of Chrono Trigger kind of vibes in there. And so there's just we just kind of threw everything we loved into a bucket, and this is what came out. So like I said, we're actually a mobile game company, so we were making a mobile game of the same IP, different gameplay. But once we started up the company, our engineers weren't on board yet. We had to wait about 2 months for our engineers to be able to come on. So we just kind of started paper prototyping and see what we wanted to make. And we just kind of, as we went along, we're like, oh, this kind of feels like a really fun board game.
Right.
And
right.
I used to play, I used to be a competitive Magic the Gathering player, and I used to play Ascension and Dominion between rounds of tournaments. And so I absolutely love deck builders. And just kind of we just kind of developed it. And then our engineers came on, and we kind of kept working on the board game. And I was lucky enough to get to meet Rob and Debbie from Wise Wizards, and we just hit it off immediately. And it just was a perfect fit for their catalog. And we really wanted to find a partner that would really, like I said, we're really good at mobile games.
Right.
This is a new space for us, so we wanted to find the perfect partner that would be able to like really deliver the game at the level we wanted it to be at. And they've been just amazing to work with so far.
Yeah, I think you've pretty much already answered the question I was going to ask you about, because Perfect Day is a mobile game it's a mobile video game company,
Yep.
but you're producing a board game. And you just explained that it really came down to why you did that was because you weren't ready to start building the mobile games yet. So it's like, well, let's
Yeah.
just make a board game. Is that kind of what happened there?
Well, so we were paper prototyping, so we were kind of developing concepts for a mobile game, but we were
Right.
just, we're using whiteboards and we were using little Gundam Wing figures to move things around the board, and it just kind of slowly started to. We kept having more and more fun with it, and just kind of let's take the video game mechanics out of it and really see what we can make with a board game. And it was just kind of a fun project at the time, kind of while we were waiting to get things ramped up, and we got it to a point where we think there's really something here.
So
So I flew out to PAX. Oh, go ahead.
can we expect to see Robot Quest Arena as a mobile game as well then?
Absolutely. So it won't be called Robot Quest Arena. It'll be just Robot Quest.
Okay.
So Robot Quest Arena is kind of the board game tag
Right.
title, but that's a little ways off. COVID kind of hit us, so we had to take on some side projects for funding and such. So it's a little ways out, and people should definitely expect a different kind of gameplay. It is not a deck building game at all, but there will be. This is an IP we're trying to build out for a long time. We have just tons of lore that we've been working on for years, and this is a world we absolutely love. And we just kind of we're hoping there's going to be a lot of Robot Quest games in the future.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. So one of the things that really caught my eye about this as well is the minis in this game. Incredibly detailed, full painted minis, which you don't see in board games anymore. It's always like you paint it yourself. Here you go. Enjoy. But full painted minis look absolutely fantastic. So I wonder how many come with the game, and how many are we going to maybe expect to see at some point?
Cool. So so the base game comes with 4 minis. You get Pug, Strider, Crate, and Petrie. And then in the Kickstarter, we're offering 3 more, kind of each in their own little pack, and that's kind of something you should expect to see kind of down the road. This is a game we plan to support for a long, long time.
Okay.
And so while we'll probably have bigger expansions, like big box expansions down the road too, we'll kind of supplement that with here's a new bot with some. Basically, we're introducing around 20 new cards with each bot that will introduce a new mechanic. So a whole new type of thing with each bot that will kind of just keep adding to the game. And so for the Kickstarter, 7 bots. I don't expect any more. They're very expensive to make and take a long time. We'd love to have more, but it's not in the cards at the moment. But there will be more down the line.
All right. And are the 3 exclusive to the Kickstarter?
Dozer is exclusive to the Kickstarter. Jaws and Kettle will not be.
Okay. All right. So if you're a completionist,
You want everything. You got to get in on the Kickstarter if you want all of them.
That's right.
Exactly.
For those
All right.
completionists out there, get in on the Kickstarter. It's going on right now. Link is right there. Go click on it. Well, finish the interview first, then go click on it.
Yeah. Or pause and come back.
True. Yeah. You know, just multi-tab it. Just go back it while listening. It's perfect. It works great. I'm curious. You said this kind of came out of prototyping for the mobile game. So as you're prototyping, how did it become a deck builder?
So one of the early mechanics of the mobile game, which is now completely different, and we've gone a completely different direction for it with it.
Great.
But if you're familiar with Clash Royale, they kind of have that rotating deck of cards, and so we had something pretty similar to that. So you had basically a deck of cards, and you would use one, and a new one would swap in or whatever. And like I said, I've played a ton of deck builders, and they just kind of seemed like the natural progression once we went from a board game, like, hey, we're not going to be able, this doesn't quite work when you're actually having to manipulate the cards yourself. So what can we do? Oh, a deck builder is just a natural fit for this.
Okay.
Plus, we just really liked the idea of buying upgrades for your robot from a shop and adding to your deck, and your deck kind of becoming your robot a little bit. It just kind of like narratively and mechanically, it just made a lot of sense.
That's
and also, like I said, I've just always wanted to make a deck builder, so I kind of convinced the team it was the right way to go.
Good call. My favorite mechanic is deck building. So
yeah, absolutely.
So you guys funded within 30 minutes. So the goal right now that is hitting those stretch goals. Can you talk about some of the stretch goals you guys have coming up?
Yeah. So I don't know how much Rob wants me to talk about on that, but I will say expect a lot of really cool cards and a lot of really cool tiles.
Okay.
So for the base game, we wanted to kind of keep things somewhat simple.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I don't want to give people the idea that this is a really simple game. There's a lot of depth to it if you want to find it. But we didn't want to kind of get crazy with the cards in the base set. We were saving that for the expansions. But then we also realized the Kickstarter exclusives are a perfect place to kind of go nuts with some of the cards. So we just unlocked the Gumball Machine card or tile. Which is a pretty fun one. You can whack it and little victory points pop out and all over the board, and players can go scoop them up and stuff. Which, like I said, is something was probably a little too advanced for the base game, but was a perfect fit for exclusive. So you'll just start to see kind of more stuff like that coming out.
That's great. That's awesome.
That's awesome. All right, we have a segment we like to do, which is our lightning round, because we want to get to know a little bit more about you. Okay. So we've got 8 questions. We're going to fire through them really quick. First answer that comes to the top of your head. You ready for it?
All right. Let's go.
All right. First game you ever played?
I think it would have been. I remember I was very young. I don't remember the age, but my parents bought me an NES, and it was Super Mario 3, or was it 1? It was 3. It was definitely 3.
All right. What about board games?
Board game, man. That's a tough one. I mean, maybe like Candyland is kind of like as a kid.
Yeah.
But I think in more recent years, the game that really made me really dive into board games. Oh, there's more than Monopoly and that kind of stuff. Was Small World.
Nice.
Okay.
I was always a really big fan of Risk, and back then I didn't really understand. Risk is a great game, but there's some problems with it. And Small World kind of fixed a lot of that and added a ton of replayability. And my friends got to the point where my friends were like, "God, we don't want to play Small World anymore, Paul. Like, we're not going to come over and play it." So, and that's kind of opened up the doors to
other
love
stuff.
of other awesome games. Yeah.
All right. Your favorite modern game?
God, this is so hard. I normally used to talking about video games and these things.
We used to talk a lot about video games too, so we get it. But yeah.
I would say my current favorite game that I'm playing. I don't know how. It's been out for a while now, but me and my friends have been really into Kingdom Death Monster lately. We've been really sinking our teeth into that.
I want to play that so bad.
Unfortunately, I bought it right at the start of COVID, and so it's been just kind of sitting on my shelf. But we did get some good sessions in right before that. So, but we're like, oh, okay, the last guy gets his vaccine is like 2 weeks away, and we're like, oh, we're gonna dive into that finally.
Nice.
Awesome. All right, competitive or cooperative?
Competitive.
Competitive.
Very, very competitive.
All right. Favorite game mechanic?
It's got to be, like I said, I'm an old Magic the Gathering player. I used to play a lot of blue cards, so it's got to be just drawing cards. There's nothing that I love more than just drawing a card off the top of a deck.
All right. The last game you played, other than your own?
Well, let's see. On video games, I just beat Resident Evil 8.
Nice.
Super fun game. And then board game, I'm totally blanking. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to play a ton. No, I played on Board Game Geek. I played Abyss on Tabletop Simulator not too long ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It's a gorgeous game.
I love it.
All right. A game that you always win.
Small World.
That's
Magic,
why your friends
probably.
don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
All right. The last game that you purchased.
Let's see. I'd have to run out and look at my shelf. I think it probably Kingdom Death Monster. I will say my purchases have been a little slowed down with COVID. It hasn't made a lot of sense to fill up the shelf. So that's probably the last one. Yeah.
It's hard to get into the stores when they're not open,
Yeah.
All right. And then when purchasing games, local game store or online?
Definitely local game store. I'm up in Seattle, Washington. We have this amazing game store called Card Kingdom. It's just absolutely beautiful, and it's just great to go and hang out. They've got a bar section and all kinds of great places to play.
Nice.
And it's if you're ever in Seattle, I highly recommend checking it out. It's like one of the best game stores you could possibly ever go to.
That is awesome. Well, I'll have to write that on my list. Yeah, our local game store, I love just going in and browsing, but with COVID, you can't really do that right now. But that's awesome. I love doing the lightning round just to get to know you, Paul, outside of your game, just to get to know you as a gamer. It's always fun to do that. It has been such a pleasure having you on to talk about Robot Quest Arena. But before we let you go, give us the elevator pitch for the game. Why should people back this game?
Yeah, I think if you're looking for something that you can play with your kids that kind of introduces them to deck building, I think this is a great thing for that. It's a really good entry level game. But also, if you're a more, like I said, a deeper strategy player like myself, there's a lot to sink your teeth into. There's controlling the board, trying to win the game without even attacking. There's lots of different avenues that you can go down to win the game. So I think there's something for everyone here, and I think don't let the cute little robots think that there's not a lot of depth to this game. There's a lot going on.
Okay,
but also,
so
I think the real elevator pitch is the robots are cute as heck. Like, why would you not want these?
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely. I mean, you look at that, it's like, I need this. Before we end this, usually we end right about now, but you just said something there that you can actually win without attacking?
Yeah, so it's tough to do, but there are some victory cards or some cards in the shop that will give you points.
Okay.
So every time you play them, you get points. We did when we were designing the game. We definitely wanted to make that very difficult to do. We don't want people like turtling up at a quarter and just buying shop cards and like kind of never interacting. Kind of the whole point of the design of the game was we wanted to get people into skirmishes
Battle
and really
arena.
going.
Yeah, exactly.
But anytime you get a hardcore deck builder player in there, they're going to try to find a way to win just by deck building.
That's awesome, though.
So there's definitely a little bit of that in there, and I think as expansions go on, that strategy will probably become a little more prevalent. But then I'd say 90% of the time you win by attacking for sure.
I think Wise Wizard Games should have the challenge that if you win that way, send a photo of your win and you get the pacifist achievement.
I love it. Coming from video games, I'm all about achievements.
Right?
So I'm
exactly.
all about that. Yeah.
Exactly. Paul, thank you so much for joining us on Kicking Tables about Robot Quest Arena. I'm excited about the game. I don't have to wish you good luck because the campaign just blew up. It is doing incredibly well. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for joining us.
It was great. Great meeting you guys. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
Hey, this is Paul Waite from Perfect Day. Thanks for checking out the interview, and please head over to Kickstarter to back the game if you want to go smash some cute little robots against each other, and be sure to subscribe to OMG Nexus with the subscribe button down below. We'll see you later.